Billiken fans, welcome back. It's Zach Miller and Peter Hale. It's the Midtown Madness Podcast. We've got a lot on tap for you today. We're going to talk some NIL news, some recruiting, women's basketball. Baseball had a wild weekend. We're going to recap it. So did softball too. But again, thank you so much for listening. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, as well as that bell icon to get notified anytime we release a new episode. Make sure you're subscribed on the audio platforms as well. It's season 4, Pete, the Midtown Madness Podcast. It's Cinco de Mayo, and one in our favorite people in the entire world, Two Men in a Garden. That is where you need to go for all your Cinco de Mayo salsa needs. Next year, get it on the list early. You gotta make a plan to get your Two Men in a Garden for next year. It's local. It tastes amazing. They've got all the salsa flavors to suit your individual preferences. You can pick up their many products at any local grocery store or online at twomeninagarden.com. Which, if you're particular about your salsa, that's where you want to go. Follow them on social media at Two Men Salsa on Instagram and Twitter. Pete, we've got it's a packed show. It may not be quantity, but it certainly is quality.
It is, Zach, and we enter another show where we have kind of a front-loaded news week again in basketball. We got visitors, we got a lot of stuff going on, and then heading into the weekend, things get a little bit quiet. And we know things are still happening. We just don't have as much from the last couple days as we did in the first half of the week. And that's always a jarring experience when we're putting the notes together, because I'll come back in on like Sunday to finish things up and go, oh, wow, we didn't talk about that already?
Didn't that happen last week?
It happened last week. It's happening every week now where things happen on Monday or Tuesday. And I think I really have to make sure we didn't talk about it already.
Yeah, I really don't. I mean, there's so much going on and how fast the sport of college men's and women's basketball, for that matter, moves. And you've got a program that is being completely overhauled brick by brick. There's a lot of news, and it happens. It comes in waves, and we've been in that down section. It seems to be towards the end of the week. And I think that's because, that's when the recruits are coming in. That's when the news is being created to be put out. Unfortunately, on Monday after we record, it's become a running gag.
Yeah. It has. We get the visits over the weekend, things get quiet, and then we get the announcements on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yeah, and we're gonna hit that Wednesday or Tuesday release schedule soon. But we've got to stick with baseball and the spring sports. Actually, it's just going to be baseball and softball after this episode. But first, we need to talk. We need to deal. We need to talk money, Pete. We need to talk about money.
Yeah, we do, Zach, and specifically, we need to talk about money and how it is directed toward our college athletes these days.
Yes. Name, image, and likeness.
That's right.
You may have heard of it. It's new. It's brand new. Just came out.
That's right. And this particular story, this facet of NIL is right up your alley, Zach, because now we're talking about NIL as it relates to merch.
Yes, I am absolutely. I'm hyped to get into this. We're going to talk about the NIL Store. And it's a new partnership that SLU announced per the release. The NIL Store team handles all the creative, product creation, design, marketing, fulfillment, and customer service for its student athletes. Additionally, the NIL Store works directly with the student athletes to educate them on merchandising, marketing, and sales trends to develop strategies for optimal success. The NIL Store, powered by Campus Inc., has announced the Billikens NIL Store is coming soon, providing officially licensed merchandising opportunities and industry-leading payouts to St. Louis University student athletes. in coordination with SLU's influencer exchange. The NIL Store, powered by Campus Inc., will launch a complete NIL merchandise platform for SLU student athletes featuring officially licensed NIL apparel. Pete, we're going to get into exactly what you might be able to expect. We're going to go through, if you're listening on audio only, I'm sorry, because we're gonna actually pull up the website here, and Pete's done a decent job of keeping the audio only listeners abreast of what exactly I'm referring to when I do this. So Pete, but I want to get your while I pull that up for the listeners at home. By the way, if you're listening on audio, you may want to just stop now and move over to, well, I don't know why I did it like that, because that doesn't make sense. You're going to want to go head over to YouTube now. Okay. So Pete, what is first of all, your reaction to this news?
Well, it's good, right? It's absolutely necessary. We've seen other schools do this already, and honestly, a lot of them have rolled out some pretty cool merch as part of this. And in a lot of cases, you are paying a bit of a premium, but knowing that it's directed to the NIL store and it's really unique stuff too. We've seen schools like I really like what Western Kentucky did with a
We're
unique
getting there. We're getting there.
yeah, with a unique hilltopper for every single different sport they do. A lot of other schools have player specific merch of all kinds, but this is just it's another ongoing part of our evolution in NIL, and I think it's absolutely necessary. It's in order to really be competitive in this space, you have to have the whole multifaceted approach to it.
So you can see my screen right now, Pete.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is their homepage, is the NIL Store homepage. Obviously, NIL Store by Campus Inc. Over 10,000 plus athletes signed. Pete, we've got Zach Edey here. Why do I feel like we just did this?
We didn't.
Are you sure?
Oh, I don't know
I'm
what's going
having
on.
insane deja vu.
Yeah, we are on mic, no less. But yeah, we've got Angel Reese, Paige Beckers. We got a baseball player from Wake Forest, a football player from, I don't know, Maryland.
Yeah.
Number 3 on Maryland. I don't know anything about football.
No,
But yeah, they're right on the front. And then they've got to the right of that, they've got the whole campus edition, like that look like pretty specific, unique jerseys for a lot of their schools. Unfortunately, Dayton is one of the 13 schools that they feature on this graphic.
Yeah, this is what I was saying. So this is what's interesting. We're going to get into like Dayton versus Xavier, because why not? Mm-hmm. Because those are two schools that we aspire to or believe that we're on the same level with, as a fan base and as a culture. But you know, with these campus jerseys, because most of the or all of the merchandise is not Nike, they can only do semi-faithful replicas,
right?
Or they can go out and create some new kind of neat design that maybe, is something you wouldn't see on a jersey, like old-fashioned jerseys from the 90s. Remember where they would, I don't know how else to describe it, but I like that. I really do, because again, you're talking to a guy who is, right now I'm wearing an authentic Billiken baseball jersey. I very rarely would wear something that's not authentic if it's a jersey, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what we saw with men's basketball in 20, like right when Schertz Arena opened. Okay, they were offering those jerseys, and they weren't Nike, but I'll be damned if like the Kyle Cassidy ones looked spot on.
Right.
So, and you saw even earlier that when Sloan was in school, you remember those that they put out that they actually got the wrong color on? Do you remember that? Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I really like the way they're going with these campus edition jerseys. We'll look at the Depal store. And right here, they've got their athletes front and center. I don't know who these guys are, but like, it seems to be all about the athletes here.
Yeah, and they've got them team specific, right? Like shop
Mhm.
track and field, shop softball, shop basketball. And then you scroll down and they've got some other, just specific products that are selling well laid out. And again, the pricing is at a premium, but you gotta I think it's a little more attractive for a lot of fans, right? Who aren't like big time donors to NIL, who are like, well, I'm kicking in, and I know that they're making quite a margin on this, but that's the
Yeah.
whole point, right? It's like I'm getting at least a little something for my donation, as opposed to just giving money to the collective or whatever.
So here's kind of what DePaul did, and I really like their women's. Well, the Nike jerseys, I guess. I guess those jerseys aren't available, but those are sweet, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Those are pretty cool.
Um, so this is inside. This is Haley Walker on the women's basketball team. So she got like a very cool NBA Jam looking character of herself on a hoodie and a
Hmm.
t-shirt, and then kind of
Very
this.
90s looking.
Yes, very much, very in style right now, or so I'm told. But like the jersey is something it's very basic. Um, you know, they're really trying to make it look authentic without by not doing too much.
Like this looks like an alternate that DePaul could have worn any time in the last 20 years.
Right. And then we'll go over Creighton. So Creighton, obviously, also white and blue. Also, I believe Nike. Um, and this is kind of their store. They've got this Trey Alexander t-shirt that looks kind of like a racing t-shirt from the
Right.
90s.
Yeah,
Exactly.
for
Yeah.
sure.
Very cool. I mean, I don't know if it's cool, but like, and then they've got this they've just got all, it's
The approach is cool because there's player specific and there's program
yeah,
specific and then there's more general like Creighton stuff. So it's kind of really like, what do you want to do? Do you want a jersey
yeah,
of like a baseball player? Because that's possible. Do you want a hoodie with your favorite baseball player's number on it? Like to me, this is like an awesome thing for friends and family, right?
yes.
To
And the
like
money goes, just instead of an allowance, just buy your kids merch.
well, I mean,
And then send them the wire and money, Western Union. Honey, I'm just going to buy your hoodie on Campus Ink.
Well, and it's something to like wear to games and stuff.
Yeah.
Like think of how many times over the years you've seen of players' family sitting, in the player family seats, and they've got some like homemade version of like their kid's number and stuff like that. And it's just cool now that they can buy an actual like official piece of merchandise. And even if it's not the exact thing that they wear in a game, it's like a real jersey
Yeah.
or a real sweatshirt or
I mean,
whatever
these are,
whatever format you want.
so you know the baseball jersey they sold in the team store?
Hmm. Yeah,
That one that like with the gradient pattern on it?
right.
That's what I think. That's what you're going to see on a Campus Ink, but it's
Sure.
going to have the player's name on it. And I'm excited about this, Pete. I think you're excited about this as well.
Yeah, and it seems like they're also, in addition to doing just the player stuff, they're doing like collections, like
Yes.
for a certain school. Like this
Yes.
is our city collection, and this is our vintage collection. So
Which,
so there's kind of a different flavor for different, design preferences.
which I really like that. Like I said, I've told people this before is where I guess I'll put it down on wax, but Dayton did this right. I think they've got it right with Dayton here. You either again like that Kobe Elvis jersey, you can see, make it look as close
Right.
to what's on the court, or make something that some frat bro is gonna want to wear to like a summer pool party.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I say that with affection. Like,
Sure, sure.
because I would be not, I'm not a frat bro, but like I would wear a jersey like that if it was a Billiken jersey to a pool party.
Yeah, I don't know how well this Kobe Brea one is going to sell anymore.
Can we get it on sale? Holy
Now that
shit.
I
I didn't
know,
even look at prices.
yeah, it's $110,
Oh
and
my God.
they haven't marked that down,
Oh,
even though it's right by the Nate Santos one, and he just announced that he's coming back to Dayton, and Brea announced that he's going to
oh
Kentucky.
my.
So
How much? how-
yeah,
next time, now we need to get into talking about like what's the sustainability of this business model with the amount of overhead.
Also just the fact that like
I guess screen printing ain't bad.
if I want to, but also from a fan perspective, Zach, is like Kobe Bryant, there's probably somebody who bought that jersey a few months ago. You know what I mean? And now is like, I spent $110 on somebody who just left.
Yeah.
And I know that's not even like in pro sports, we've seen that all the time, right? Like you buy a jersey and then a guy gets traded or leaves in free agency or whatever. It's even more like in the very best case scenario, you're going to have a person on campus for 4 years. And it's even more now with with the way transfers are going. NIL is going to feel like an investment for somebody who might only be there 1 or 2 years.
Yeah. I wonder if there's something you can learn here, like the collections, the exclusive drops.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at this, like who just transferred?
Who just transferred away?
Brea
Kobe
did.
Bryant?
Yeah. I guess Brea's got him. I guess everyone's got him. I was like, oh, could we go see if somebody didn't drop a t-shirt? Get an
Right.
idea of what they're gonna do.
There's a lot of player specific stuff in here.
Yeah.
And from what I've
These
heard,
are wild.
they've actually kind of worked with players to kind of
Yes.
come up with the designs that they want. And so each one very different, a little more reflective of a player's personality. A lot of these designs, I gotta say, not something I would wear. Maybe a few of them would be a fun thing to have. You know,
I would buy them
again,
like if I could afford it, I would buy them to wear them all on the podcast, like week after week. Like I don't know if anybody notices this, but I stress about what I'm gonna wear on the pod. Like I wish that I got into like cartoon character mode with what I wore. I wish I wore the same thing every time. Because now like I'm like I can't wear the same thing twice in a row. I try to space things out. But yeah, that's sad. Let's hear. So that is how Dayton. So Dayton's is again. I really like what they did with the jerseys and like. Let's see what's on the women's side. Let's see.
There's really good. Like I said, there's just really good variety here.
Yes,
you know, like this is a store that you can browse for quite a while.
Sir, we're doing it.
That's true.
No, so let's go. We've seen Dayton now. Let's go and look at. I thought I did.
You got some individual players tabbed up at the top.
Yeah. Oh, I wanted to look at Tyler Kolek. So this is Xavier. So we saw Dayton, and I really liked Dayton's. The way they did it. And I went to Xavier. No, I don't want 10% off because I'm not buying shit. So basketball, and I thought this was really bad. Like, let's go with Trey Green. Fine. Trey Green. Like, that's brutal.
But again, I mean, these are designs that he may have worked with.
Yeah.
Come up with.
Well, no, the jerseys aren't. So I'm not talking about the shirts.
Yeah, you're okay. You're talking about that jersey specifically.
Yeah, like this one is really the one that really bothers me. But again, I mean, Xavier has worn like jerseys that literally don't have anything on them.
That looks very much like their game jersey. It's the right font. It's the right lettering and size and everything.
So I just thought it was boring.
It's pretty close. It's pretty close.
Yeah, it's. I think with those, and you talk about the Billiken jersey from the last couple of years with the arch. And the problem is when you have those very like small details, they don't translate over to like replicas very well.
Sure.
By the way, $109. I cannot get over that.
That seems pretty standard for the jerseys.
I mean, it's I have no problem with it, but dude, I'm really a huge fan of like I haven't even gotten into like what's tennis look like. Oh, Jesus. Oh my God. Yeah, this is wild, dude.
Everybody's got their own design.
Unbelievable.
So here's a women's tennis player at Xavier who has her own design that's like kind of a cartoon version of herself. Like it looks like I mean, it's not too cartoony though. It's actually pretty realistic.
It kind of reminds me of Daria. That cartoon style.
But it's like, so her last name's Nugent. So she's playing her racket
Oh, I
guitar.
get it. I
Yeah.
get it. Unbelievable. Do you think she's related?
I hope not. But so there's three tennis players on here. So not
Yes.
everybody's gotten in on it.
Four. Well, and there's four.
Oh, four. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, four.
Um, no, I just think it's yeah, it's super. Let's see, like swim and dive. This is crazy. Let's see what Caleb Petranchuk. Okay. And just standard. So again,
Yeah,
there's a lot of choice here. There's a lot of options for
yeah,
people.
it seems like some have a standard template with like just the name on it.
Yeah.
I was hoping
Uh,
they would have like sports specific things, like you could get a swim cap
oh
with
God, I
his
would die.
name and number on
I'd
that.
freaking die. So Marquette's is really, really, there's a lot on offer for Marquette.
The campus edition NIL jersey is really something. Like
Yeah,
that's an aggressive design. They also have one that you're right looks a little more like their standard like game use jersey.
Pete,
It's
I got a
again a little different.
confession here.
What's that?
I like that middle jersey.
You really like that one with the
I think
okay, so
that's
it's got
sweet.
a big golden eagle on the side. It's black, but it's got the golden eagle yellow outline on blue on the sides, just on the sides.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
weird.
it's pretty interesting.
They've got this is something that people floated on the
Yes.
message board.
Yeah, the NBA Jam
This will
style.
be sweet, dude.
Yeah, with two players next to each other with their attributes,
Who you putting?
looking like NBA Jam
Who are
characters.
you gonna put on here?
I mean, if you're playing an NBA Jam team of SLU and you don't do Jimerson Avila, I
Oh,
mean
you
that
have
would be
to.
surprising.
Yeah,
I guess you could also do Swope Avila and just bomb, like either one of
yeah.
those combinations is going to bomb threes. Swope would be fun to play with as kind of a smaller guard. But I think either one of those combos, you can't go wrong.
It's weird that all of these shirts have words on them when Tyler Kolek can't read.
He's like you then, huh?
Yes, me and him. Oh, dude, guys,
Yeah.
guys.
So Zach's freaking out over a hockey jersey with Tyler Kolek's name and number on there.
Well, hold on. I'm freaking out over the hockey jersey.
I mean,
It's not
that's
Tyler
pretty.
Cole, but it's not. It has nothing to do with who's on the jersey.
I'm still describing it for what our audio only listeners are missing out on.
Yeah. Sorry, go on. Oh, you're just. I see. Dude, this is gonna be sweet, guys. Like, I want to see Billiken fans really support this. I mean, we've seen what we've done as a fan base with, home field and 19-9. And I really think Billiken fans will show out with their you know what I want to look up before we get out of here and move on? Indiana. I want to look up Indiana.
Okay.
Why am I looking up Indiana?
Because you're a Hoosier at heart.
No. Soccer. I want to see what their soccer team did.
Okay. See what the other blue bloods
yeah.
are up to.
Poor internet over here at Midtown Madness HQ, St. Louis, apparently.
There you go.
Wait, what is that? Wait. Sport. It's having an issue here. Sorry guys. This is terrible. Men's. I have no idea what's going on here. Where's soccer, dude? What the hell?
Yeah, I don't know.
Wow.
I think it's under M. Go to M.
No, they just have women's soccer.
Yeah, well, that's you scrolled by M.
I did not.
It's all right. You
All right.
got
Forget it. That didn't go planned. Yeah, that's it, Pete. I'm excited about this. This is a major opportunity for Billiken student athletes.
Yeah, I think it is. And it's a good opportunity for each of them to do something unique. We've talked already about just how marketable Avila is already. And there are other guys on there. Jimerson is somebody who's been loyal to this program for what's going on 6 years now. And, he's a guy who you buy a piece of Jimerson merch, and that's one that you're like, okay, like this is the guy who was a
Dude,
Billiken
I'm
all along,
hyped. I am
right?
hyped. I'm buying Jimerson merch right away.
So that just it shows you what the possibilities are. Now the trick is like this is given that an individual player, some of them really go for it with their aesthetic. Like I was looking at Deron Holmes on Dayton and did not like his designs at all. Like that
How
was just
what
like
was the
I don't know. You're gonna have to look it up when your internet's working a little better
Yeah,
again.
no
But
shit.
those were just not shirts that I would have worn. Like period. But like, what if Deron Holmes was my absolute favorite player, my kid's absolute favorite player?
Right.
So it does make for some interesting questions as you go through this, and how long. Man, if I spend 110 bucks on this jersey, do I think this guy's going to be around next season and the season after that?
Yeah.
So there are some choices on the fan side of it, but again, this is something we have to have as a program. If we're going to have
Yes.
NIL, it's the right thing to do for your athletes. It's a good recruiting tool. Like, this is available for you when you're here. It's not going to be available everywhere, at least for right now. So that's key. Do we have any idea what the timeline is, Zach, on this launching?
I don't know. I would assume by August.
Uh,
August, I would imagine, right? Like back on
I,
campus.
I mean, they're going to have it. Um, yeah, I think that time frame sounds right. They're going to have it late summer into the fall, as we get closer to the season and as they're trying to drive ticket sales and interest in the men's basketball program.
Pete, I think we both agree that Jimerson is probably our first stop for the shot to on the site if he's in on it.
Sure. I mean, if not Robbie.
I mean, I think as
Yeah, I know. You and I
because
are, yeah,
yeah, I think we got to go with the guy who stuck around, right? Like,
sure. Yeah.
and I wonder about that because you know, uh, with everybody moving around, I know that there was an article out from John Fanta about which we can sneak it in here if we really want to, but basically like about how dangerous it is academically for these kids to move around, but you also wonder about the money, right? So uh like Jimerson is going to make so much more money this year on merchandise than he probably would have had he gone to UConn. I don't know. I think I think that Billiken fans will support him uh like in a different way, right?
Yeah, I think so. I hope so because like you go to another school like that, and even if it's a bigger school with a bigger fan base and everything, you're further down the depth chart, number one. Number two, you're a guy who's coming in for a grad transfer year, so they know you're a one and done.
Yeah.
And they're just not going to get as connected to you. And look, maybe you're a key player in like a deep run in March, but it would take something like that to really draw the attention and excitement of fans that are going to drive something like merch sales. It's going to be a while into the season before anyone really knows who you are, among the more casual fans. So yeah, I would like to think that that he'll be rewarded with a little bump from the merch sales.
By the way, I forgot I did go into the Marquette women's soccer page.
Mm,
And they have like the goalie jersey. They literally have a goalie jersey for the goalie. It's pretty
yeah,
sweet. It kind of
yeah,
looks like
that's
in the
cool.
Nike one.
Right.
Um, but no, I think it's interesting. It's kind of an interesting thing. Like you can just keep growing your. I think people talked about it in Indiana State, and I think we all dismissed it as kind of being a Pollyanna about how Robbie would have built his brand over there. I think it's a little bit different in that respect. But these guys that are just kind of moving, like I don't think you're building your brand by moving.
Yeah, there's definitely because it's still early days on all this stuff, right? It's only a few years that this has been going on at all. We have yet to see in the long term how this is going to play out, and it's really going to be interesting to talk to athletes after they're done.
Oh, I am so excited for the
I
case
mean,
studies.
we've got a generation of players happening right now that are, yes, I transferred 3 or 4 times, and here's what happened. Did I graduate? Did I make as much money as I thought I could have? by jumping for more like, kind of short-term gains on things.
I'm waiting for the tell-alls about money that didn't get paid.
Yes, there's going to be
It's
a
going to
lot of
be
that.
awesome, dude.
There's
30
because
for there's going to be like a 10-part 30 for 30 series on the last starting in 2019.
Yeah, but I think even later than that, right? I mean,
Well, yeah, I mean, I just meant the catalyst for change was
sure.
in a lot of ways 2020.
Yeah, so I think yeah, I mean, number one, I'm in. If they make that, I'm in
Oh,
day
oh,
one.
popcorn.
But I really do think we just don't know yet. Like we just don't have enough time. We don't have enough data to know what the impacts of this really are. And there's going to be a lot of what ifs. There's going to be a lot of people saying a lot, I should have stayed, I should have gone. I think I could have made more this way. This would have been better for my long-term career. I think there are just a lot of people. I mean, I don't know what's going to do to them both academically and athletically, jumping around so much. But also, it's just the other effect is fans just aren't going to get as connected to you. Like it or not, it's just going to be that way. People are going to have stronger feelings about Gibson Jimerson than they are a 1 year grad transfer. It's just the way it is.
It's interesting because we can sit here and talk about it, and we can also it's funny because we'll sit here and talk about Gibson Jimerson and about how, if he went somewhere else, he wouldn't. And I think it's a unique situation because it's UConn that he
Mhm.
was going to visit. And obviously, I don't, you look at a guy like Robbie Avila, and I mean, do you think there will be fans hesitant to buy merchandise for a guy? I mean, is it different because we're pretty sure he's going to stay here 2 years? I
Yeah,
don't.
we're
It's
pretty sure
weird.
he's
It's
going to
such a
be here
weird situation.
2 years, but he's also a star and he's a really unique looking guy. I mean, like
Yeah,
he's just like you roll out in that merch and people are like, "Oh, you're like a real college basketball fan." Like
like
this is
Swope. Like Swope would be the better comparison.
yeah, I mean, yeah, maybe so, maybe so. Like Avila, I almost see that as like it's like the hipster choice of like this is my favorite
Mhm.
player. Like
It's the ML. He's the MLS of sports.
the mainstream fan is going to know about Zach Edey and is going to know about guys like that. But like if you're like sporting a Robbie Avila hoodie or something like that, it's like
You're
okay,
sending a
like
message that
that's right. Like
I'm a sicko.
it's the true hipster choice within the college sports landscape, I think. So I think he is an exception, but you're right. Guys like Swope and all the other transfers that we have coming in this season, it remains to be seen how they're embraced. A lot of them are juniors. We have one coming in as a sophomore. Swope is a senior. So yeah, it's time will tell. And I think just how this season goes will really determine a lot of that.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I look at. I mean, I'm certainly on board for buying a Robbie Avila stuff. Like I'm gonna empty my bank account for that. All my Maui Invitational savings is just gonna be gone on goggles and shirts,
Yeah.
which is coincidentally something you could call the coach tandem of Robbie and Josh. Goggles and shirts.
Goggles and shirts, every kind of
Okay.
merch.
I'm excited. I said it a million times, but I really am. Anything that involves gear is something I'm gonna geek out on.
Yeah, I think our
So
listeners know that.
yeah, if by the way, if anybody from NIL Store, anybody knows anybody at NIL Store, I'd love to talk to you guys because I would be very interested in starting a career with you guys. That'd be fun. Uh I hope my boss doesn't listen to this.
It's a two-sided it's not one of our normal interviews. It's
Yeah,
like
no, it's an
it's a different
actual.
kind of interview.
That would be funny
If
to
you show
like.
up in a suit and tie,
No,
I'm asking them like, so how do you come up with the designs with players? And you're like, when can I start?
no, I just do an interview with them live on the podcast.
That would be good content. You would have to let them know, hey, I'm recording this and I'm going to put it out on the internet.
That would be unbelievable content and ad for them. Um, Pete, I've got a big blank space under new commitments. Are we surprised?
It's the first time in a while, Zach, that we've had that. Are we surprised? Not necessarily. We've got 3 spots to fill. We've got a pretty full roster. We have a head coach who said he might take until June to fill it, and here we are in the first week of May. So I'm not entirely surprised. And the other reason I'm not surprised is because it seems like we've had fewer visitors in the past week than we had before. But also, I think a couple of them may have had some, or one of them anyway,
Yeah.
may have had some travel issues. So not entirely surprised, and we'll probably wind up with bullet points to speak of in this category again next week.
The only commitment in college basketball is the fear of commitment. I would have thrived in this era, Pete. Speaking of lack of commitment, how about this VCU situation?
The VCU situation specifically meaning what, Zach?
What's his ass? Just decommitted. The guy from Norfolk State.
Oh, okay. I missed that.
Yeah. You didn't see this? Oh, it's wild.
If something broke today on a Sunday,
Well,
I'm out.
Yeah,
man.
it did early today.
Yeah, I was.
VCU commitment flip. It was Norfolk State transfer guard Jamari Thomas flips commitment from VCU to South Carolina.
Okay. Well, they came in with a stronger offer. What are you
gonna do? I hate these, like, just say I got paid. Let's go. It's
well,
I mean, what if he already got the NIL stuff? Like,
he hadn't signed yet, had he?
No, I don't know.
I mean, like, unless he's on like so every commitment that SLU has announced has been like right when they sign, right? And we've talked about that. Like,
do you think that's on purpose? Not necessarily. Like, I don't want to talk about it from a marketing standpoint. I want to talk about it from a strategic business sense of knowing you've got a guy signed on a dotted line, especially in this era of tampering and NIL.
You have to have to have a player signed before you can officially announce him as a program, right? Like they can't say anything about a guy who's just verbally committed. Well, as soon as they sign the letter, now you can write the article, you can have Stu write his article, you can put your graphic out on social media, all that kind of stuff you can do. So if he was just a verbal commitment who put out his own graphic, then he's, is it ethical for other schools to pop in and still hit him up?
Even before this, it was fine.
Even before this, it happened.
Yeah.
And I don't know about fine, but certainly allowed. It's a good way to make enemies among coaching contemporaries, but yeah, it certainly happened. So I guess that's what happened here. But VCU has kind of been a mess this offseason.
Yeah. Do you think that, like, SLU getting the commitment verbally and signing at the same time, again, is a strategic point to avoid a situation like what VCU is seeing right now? Do you think it's a strategic thing to, like, not talk about, like, not even bother with the player committing unless they're putting their name on paper?
Yeah, I think they have to get the player to agree to that too, right? Because the player still wants to put out a commitment on social media, and you have to make sure, like, hey, okay, what's the timing on that? Are we signing? And so it seems like there's more of a concerted effort, at least in what we've seen so far, to make sure all of that stuff is lined up timing wise. And so, yeah, we haven't even had one of these guys where this would have been a possibility, right? Like, by the time that we were hearing about the commitment, they were signed.
I think there was one of them. I think one of them
we knew was committed before.
Yeah, it was it Kaluanya? Or
there may have been a little time with that.
Yeah,
but the rest I think were pretty much.
No, you're right. No, you're right there.
Yeah. So anyway, we have not been in a position where this would have been possible yet. Now it's always possible we might see somebody put out a graphic that they're committed before SLU does for these last 3 spots, but my hunch is that they're going to want to try and keep the same method going.
Schertz, as he kind of as we've come to expect, is quite the chatterbox. And especially when Stu Durando's around, he actually gave some ideas to Stu on what he's looking for to fill out the rest of the roster.
Yeah, it was great because like you and I last week, the week before, we're kind of speculating, okay, what would you do? We've got this many spots left. What would you want? What would you want? And he just told him, and he Stu published it, and it's great. So the three scholarships that he kind of has in mind is number one, an impact guard who's strong defensively. Number two, a big man to back up Avila, and number three, a wild card who wouldn't necessarily have to make an impact this season. And
A
I
wild
think
card. Is he talking about me?
I mean, you that definitely would be a wild card. I can, and that definitely also would not be a player who impacts the game this
I'll
season.
take 0 NIL.
Sold in the room. I think the hardest, I think the wild card obviously is probably the easiest spot to find, right? Because like that can be anything.
Sounds like
Um,
the next man we're probably going to mention.
Possibly, but the hardest one is a big man to back up Avila because if
Uh-huh.
you're a big man in the transfer portal, you're probably thinking you want to go somewhere where you're a starter or at least a high rotation player. And Avila is a guy who played over 30. Well, I got it. Let me check his minutes actually, but let's say he played about 30 minutes a game last season. It's a much tougher sell to be that guy's backup, knowing that for the next 2 years you're going to be backing up a guy who plays that much. And so I think that one's a lot more difficult. Yes, 31.2 minutes. So assuming it's a 1-to-1 trade-off, you're selling 9 minutes a game there. And that's a tougher proposition.
Pete, I'm in my transition bag today.
Mhm.
Because you talked about a big man to back up Avila, I want to talk about a name that came up, and I was under the impression that a this is a big man to back up Avila, but I apparently I'm a message board moron. Cameron Fletcher, not a big man.
No, he's more of
Okay,
a wing forward. He's big. I mean, he's 6'7", 200. Do I have that right? Is what he's listed at
that's a big
on
boy.
Florida State's roster. I for some reason didn't put that in the notes, but yeah, he's not a true big man. No, he would probably be considered like a three. I think is probably what he a small forward is what he would have been called. But he's a really the perfect wild card, Zach, because
Okay, so Cameron Fletcher's the wild card.
I mean, truly. So here's a guy who, out of Vashon High School 4 years ago, very highly touted recruit, borderline 4 or 5 star, like a really big time recruit. And he went to Kentucky out of high school. He butted heads with Calipari his freshman year, and which was shortened by the COVID pandemic, and transferred to Florida State, where he's been for the last 3 years. So as a sophomore there, he played his only full season, averaging 16.3 minutes a game and 6.8 points per game. And then as a junior, he really stepped up his role, 29.1 minutes per game, up over 10, close to 11 points a game. But then in his 10th game of the season, he suffered a season-ending knee injury and then injured the same knee again in his seventh game this past season, which would have been his natural senior year. And that shut him down for the year again. So the big question here is whether he's back to 100% or even close to it, because when he's at full strength, I'm going to borrow the words of my friend Joe here. He is not the kind of talent you see in the A10. Like he's that next level talent, a guy who went to Kentucky with expectations as a freshman and probably a guy who had his eyes set on the NBA, but back to back horrible knee injuries, you become a huge question mark. So look, there's apparently we're hearing there might be some interest with Xavier and a few other schools, but really it's just a question of his knee. If he's good to go, he could be the potential steal of the portal, the steal of the year in this transfer portal. Like he's that kind of talent. But there's also a real downside risk here too, right? If his knee is just never going to get back to healthy, if it's the kind of like mental thing where he's just not, you know, he doesn't have that explosiveness. He doesn't have that fearlessness that he was known for as a younger prospect. That's the kind of thing you worry about. So a true wild card, but for a very different reason than you would probably think of a wild card player, right?
Pete, I am learning that knees are nothing to mess around with. I let's talk about a name that kind of, again, Cameron Fletcher, for all intents and purposes, showed up out of nowhere, right? Other than being local, but another one that really just truly came out of nowhere because he's not local is Liam Campbell.
This is one where we get those tweets, right? And they always, a few of them, the portal report or
I hate these.
they tag us.
We could talk. Well, no, I don't hate this part of it.
Yeah.
I don't hate that they tag us. I hate the idea of these tweets.
There's a few accounts who will tag us in this kind. I think Jamie Shaw, the portal report, a couple others. So they'll talk to these recruits and be like, okay, who's talked to you since you've gotten in the portal? And they give these long lists. So Liam Campbell gives a list and SLU's in there, right? And I'm kind of like, okay, well, that's cool, but like I'll retweet you and that's all I got, because like I'm not going to get I say this all the time now, but I'm not going to get too invested in looking into every detail on a recruit if we're just one name out of a bunch, because other names on his list were like USC, where he's coming from, or decommitting from, SMU, where USC's coach went, Cal, Stanford, Washington State, Washington, Oregon, Idaho, where he's from. So like you're looking at this list and thinking like, I don't know. I mean, SLU gave him a call. That's nice. But like, I don't, he's a West, Rocky Mountain, West Coast player. Like he's looking at West Coast schools. That kind of seems like what he'll do. Right. But lo and behold, Zach, we get a visit out of him, and he was there late last week. So like I said, he originally committed to USC, but reopened his recruitment when Andy Enfield left for SMU. So both of those schools are still in play with the other ones I mentioned. He's a 6'5" shooting guard. He was the Idaho State Player of the Year, 4-star, top 100-ish level player. I think the lowest rating I saw on him was number 110 in the country in the class of 2024. And then other services had him up around 75. So a really high caliber player. He won a state title. The only teams they ever lost to this season were from out of state. For big events, they beat everybody in state. He shot over 40% from three. I'm genuinely surprised we got a visit out of this kid. I thought he would stay on the West Coast, because a lot of the schools now are the same ones that were recruiting him heavily before he picked USC in the first place. And that's an exciting player right there. And I know it doesn't quite fit those three criteria that Schertz laid out easily. He's not a backup big. I don't know if he's really like the defensive lockdown guard, and he's 6'5", so he's a much bigger guard. But I guess if you want to call him your wild card, I mean, like this is a good enough player to where I think you kind of throw out your list. It's like a fantasy draft or something, right? It's like, yeah, I really need a running back in this round, but I can't believe that dude's still available, so I got to take him. And I think that's the situation right here.
How do you feel about that? Because I mean, obviously Schertz has all the goodwill in the world right now. But if this was happening with, Cruz, Ford, guys, I don't know if we'd be like, oh, well, what best available? We don't need that. That's what we did those years.
Yeah, I think the roster has been built so deliberately to this point that I don't think it's a problem. I think the pieces fit really well now, and if you've got another guy who's going to fit your system and who's going to fit your culture, and all of those other things, I think that's okay. It really. There were times during the last administration where it felt like we were just grabbing whoever we could get, and I don't think that's the case here at all. And I think that's his ideal last three, and if you hit 2 out of 3 of those, I think you've still been pretty good about how you've built the roster.
The next guy on this list, this is the travel issues you alluded to. Apparently, his initial flight at least, was canceled out of California.
Yeah, you were the one who informed me of that, because as people know, I'm always the last to know when stuff happens over a weekend.
You're not tracking flights?
No,
that, by the way, is one of my favorite parts. Yeah. That was my favorite part of coaching carousel season
Yeah.
was the people that would track flights.
Right. Yeah. The
Are
private jets.
oh
It's great. I mean, I would assume these guys are flying commercial, but nonetheless, I was not following, the flight manifest from on certain flights in and out of St. Louis. That's for sure.
um he visited this weekend, and again, this is might have started on Thursday, but
Yeah. Yeah.
that's kind of where I think
Right.
now that I'm reading that, I think somewhere along the line somebody knew about some travel issues.
Yeah, I think he was originally supposed to get here Thursday and then bumped it back, and then there was a flight thing. But regardless, this is Rody Anderson. He's a 6'3", 190-pound guard from Boise State. 2 years of eligibility is what he's going to have left. He's also being recruited by Nevada, USC, San Diego State, and more. So he was a starter for an at-large team at Boise State this year. He averaged 6.5 points, 3 rebounds, 2.5 assists, a little over a steal a game. His slash line, not great. 364 from the field, 267 from three, 547 from the free throw line. Not efficient, didn't put up big numbers. So, like, you look at that on paper and you kind of scratch your head, like, is this really the right fit? But I think a lot of it is he just wasn't the right fit in Leon Rice's system. They play a very kind of deliberate style, defensive minded style. And they also just brought in San Jose State transfer, Alvaro Cardenas. So there may have been competition for his starting spot next season. They just added a JUCO guard earlier this past week as well. So he's a player who got better as the season went on. He got off to a slow start, but he's really probably more suited for an up-tempo style. He's fast, he's tough, he's a strong defender. I think he fits the criteria of that first guard that Schertz was talking about, right? He averaged 13.1 points per game as a freshman at UC San Diego, where he was also a starter. So look, I don't love the shooting percentages, nor the fact that this would be his third school in 3 seasons. But again, he needs a better fit. He's just not a great fit at Boise State. And he does offer some of the attributes that I think SLU doesn't really have in the lineup already. So there are a lot of reasons to look at this as a guy you're not going to necessarily rely on to be your primary scorer, but does a lot of the other things that we need on our roster and would be a fit that way. So I think there are a lot of reasons to like this potential fit.
You're gonna have to read this name because I'm not gonna mess it up. Is it Kai Kai?
No, it's
No,
Kiki.
Kiki.
So I know this name for a couple of reasons. Number one, we recruited him out of high school. He's from Western Kentucky and Travis Ford country, as many people know it. And,
No.
and he was
Is Travis Ford from Kentucky?
believe it or not, he is. And so he was one of the biggest scorers in
Colorado.
Kentucky that year. There was some talk that he might go to UK. And if people remember this, there was a lot of drama with his dad saying if he goes to UK, he needs to be a starter. And Calipari basically laughed in his face. So he wound up going to Xavier. And like Gibson Jimerson, I think this would be his 6th year of college basketball. He's 6'2", 190 pounds, nice build, small-ish, but pretty explosive. Like not tall, but like very physically well built. So he stayed at Xavier for 4 years, but never really caught on the way that they kind of hoped or expected. Most fans here in Cincinnati who are Xavier fans, they seem to blame Travis Steele for this. They think he misused him.
Blame it, Travis. It's fine.
Yeah, that's right. We're used to it. But he also did get injured a little bit, and his third season was a medical redshirt after season-ending surgery, and that was kind of after some off and on injury issues before that. Then Sean Miller came in, and he did play 10 games, and look, he wasn't one of Miller's guys, but I think he kind of could have found his role there. This time it was his foot, though. Injured it after 10 games and shut down for the season. Then he transfers to Jacksonville State this past season, starts all 32 games and averages just under 18 points a game, shooting about 42% from the field, about 39% from three, and over 88% from the free throw line. He's an explosive downhill scorer, super athletic, not afraid to shoot. I was kind of wondering, like, is this a guy who lost a step after the season ending injury a couple of years ago? But I think the way he played at Jacksonville State this year suggests that he's all the way back physically. Other schools interested: Oklahoma, St. John's, Auburn, West Virginia, Wisconsin, Tulsa, Florida Atlantic. They were actually his last visit before SLU. I don't know that he actually did visit. He was supposed to visit SLU this week. I don't know if it's getting pushed back or if he's going to end up there, but I wanted to leave him on here just in case, because I didn't want, somebody coming in out of nowhere that people weren't ready for. So he's one. I don't know that we've got the visit locked down, but we were in the mix for sure.
There's a couple of previous visitors that the interest seems to have gone stale on, and or they've committed elsewhere.
Yeah, the first one is interesting. Cameron Sheffield from grad transfer wing from Rice. He'd have 2 years left. I don't know what's going on there. He was a guy who was hurt all last year, and I think he visited or was supposed to visit, and then just things have gone quiet there. But we did get news today, Zach, Sunday as we pod. Grant Newell, the sophomore forward from Cal, is committing to North Texas, or has committed to North Texas. So Phil Forte, it sounds like he got another one from us.
Yeah. Or as someone pointed out in the Discord, he got our leftovers.
I like that spin better.
Indiana State players. No, I don't need Robert Sean Birmingham. We have no clue what he's doing. Merritt Alderink has announced that he's going to stick with Indiana State.
Yeah.
I not really any. Well, there's only like one real update with SLU players in the transfer portal.
Yes.
Magassa and Zhang have been in there. Phil Jones entered the portal right before the deadline, and then I got a hot tip yesterday, day before.
It's been a few days. Yeah.
Svet Soderov. He entered the portal last Friday, and it wasn't even mentioned publicly at all. I still don't think it's been mentioned publicly until we put it out. I think we're the only one that mentioned it. Nobody cares.
Yeah. Right. That's absolutely right. I mean, like we got that tip, and he was in there for a week by the time that we found out. And it was like, well, I've been searching his name every few days just to see if there's any updates. Hadn't found anything, and yeah, that makes it official. So once we find landing spots for the walk-ons and for Magassa and Bruce, that shuts the door on everybody. We'll track where they're all going and what they're doing, but yeah, that pretty much closes the book on the Travis Ford era. Any player that was unaccounted for is now either in the portal or returning officially.
So what's this roster look like now? Well, Pete, I think it's going to be a very experienced team, which is going to be wild to have in the first year of a head coach.
Yeah, I think you made a good point. Like putting that in the notes, and I kind of just left this in from the prior week because I was gonna, add names to this to kind of see what it all looked like with everybody listed together. But you've got a grad student, a senior, 5 juniors, a sophomore, and 2 freshmen. It is a lot of experience for a first-year coach and a guy with a system, and a couple of these guys have played with him already. And you'd like to think they can hit the ground running a little bit faster than most first-year coach teams have. I mean, we've seen varied results right around the country this year from first-year coaches. We talked about it after we played Utah State and how good they looked with a first-year coach and a bunch of new players. I know Green Bay, a lot of people looked at the job that Sundance Wicks did there as a first-year coach.
What a name.
I know, amazing name, and kind of took them out of the cellar of the conference, made them a top 3 team, and had the biggest, I think, swing from what they had accomplished in 1 year to the next. An amazing job he did there. So we've seen examples of coaches who did really well. Odom at VCU, I think, was a little more up and down, especially early on. And we've seen all kinds of examples there, but I'd like to think that with this roster, Schertz has a lot of guys who can really excel right away for him. How the younger guys and some of the newer players and guys coming off injuries and things like that get up to speed remains to be seen. But when you look at a lineup with like Jimerson and Swope, Avila, I mean, those are guys who right away should be thriving.
What do you think about this front court, man? Like you talked about them looking for a center to back up Avila.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not. We got a kind of a packed front court from where I'm looking. I mean, Max Picard, am I crazy to think he couldn't fill in that role?
Yeah, I mean, he's one of those guys like he's so slender, right? Like historically, I would have looked at him as a redshirt candidate, but like now you look at him and he thinks of himself as a four, and we've heard Schertz say he can't guard a five. He's not strong enough yet to guard a five, but I gotta think that's a guy I think who's going to be on campus pretty early in the summer, hitting that strength and conditioning program, getting ready. I think with his skill set, that's a guy who may be able to play reserve minutes instead of just being stashed on the end of the bench as a freshman. Can he truly back up Avila? I don't know. I don't know what kind of they say he's got like a perimeter player skill set, right? Like so
Yeah.
he's a good passer, but he's going to have to still learn the system. But at the four between Casey and Anya, I think we're at really good shape. We're in really good shape. And then you've got a guy like Thames who gives you a lot of versatility as a forward who can kind of play a little more as a guard or as a little more of a front court player. So there are some real options here with three scholarships still left to go. So you're right. I don't feel bad about where we are. I think one more guy would really give you comfort. But otherwise, I think we can be okay.
I got a hypothetical that's gonna piss some people off.
Go for it.
You can back up Robbie Avila with one of three guys. Bruce Zhang, Abu Magasa, Steph Van Boosel.
I think I mean, not having seen Magasa play, that's the hardest to say that I would go for that. Steph, I just don't know how he fits in this system. He's such an at the basket big, right? Like he's a very traditional center. And Avila is out at the top of the key for, most of a possession. So that's a very different player. I think Bruce might have the game that translates into that the most. So maybe I'll go with him just based on fit and with apologies to Steph because I think
I love Steph.
he developed way more over the course of last season.
I don't know. I thought that was a fun little question. By the way,
Yeah.
Sundance Wicks. I give you one guess to guess what state he's from.
Mm. I actually don't know this. I feel like I should know this because
I think you gotta just context clues here. You gotta go with a gut.
it feels like something out west. I'm gonna go with Utah.
He's from Wyoming.
All right, I was
That's
close.
about
I was
right. Yeah.
close.
And
Yeah.
when you hear it, you're like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, like
I
that's
don't
yeah.
know.
That's
His
not a
son,
name somebody from Boston gives their kid.
no, he named his son Skywalker.
Is that real?
Yeah,
Skywalker, Sundance and Skywalker.
Wicks.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah,
I mean, like they really went for it.
yeah. I think he likes Star Wars, but I'm not sure.
Oh man, that's crazy.
He's a funny looking cat too.
He's a heck of a coach.
Yeah. Um, portal's closed, man.
Yeah.
I got. Oh, should for the thumbnail, should I do the picture of
The
which
eclipse.
no. Where is it John? It's not John Candy. Yeah, John Candy doing. Sorry, folks, park's closed.
Oh yeah, at Wally World.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm doing for the.
Sorry, folks. Portal's closed.
Yeah, that's the thumbnail this week.
Yeah, it closed on May 1st, as we had been warned all along. But the funny thing, Zach, leading up to it, I was kind of like, okay, what time May 1st? I couldn't find that anywhere.
May the
And
first be with you.
yeah, it was so irritating because I was like, is it midnight like April 30th or is it like the next midnight? But it was the next midnight. So at any time May 1st, and there was still a little bit of a trickle of players as we found out that paperwork had come in or that the requests had been
They're
made. So
they're rebooting every show. Now they're just rebooting whose line is it anyway. The rules are made up and the points don't matter.
yeah, it's getting pretty close to that.
We got a new offer out, and it's a local guy.
Yeah, and the funny thing about this, Zach, is it's a new offer to this staff, but not to the school, because this was an offer that Travis Ford made previously. And it's to Trey Williams, a 6'1" guard from Vashon. So they refreshed the offer, right? Like it's a local kid, and you knew this was going to happen with some of the local offers. that Ford's staff had previously offered. I expect a lot more of these to come through over the next few months, but he's a combo guard. He's a great shooter. He moves well on and off the ball. He really thrives in transition. He's a kid who can get hot and really fill it up. He's got other offers from VCU. I think that may have been the previous staff, though. Mizzou, Ole Miss, UIC, SEMO, SIUE, Lindenwood, Louisiana Monroe, Cal State Fullerton, Jacksonville, and Bryant. So a good offer list, but he hasn't gotten a new offer in about 6 months. I think Bryant was probably the last offer last fall. So he's a guy who not a whole lot has gone on with his recruitment, but we're just kicking off a new AAU season. So I do expect a little more heat to be on him as we get into spring and summer.
Pete, I hope you have your frequent flyer miles saved up because this season I think we need to do some content
Yeah,
at a road game.
we really do. And unfortunately, between the fact that I now have kids and I travel a lot less for work post pandemic, I don't have much at all in the way of frequent flyer miles. But Zach, the first one we're gonna need them because I don't know if either of our cities offer a nonstop to Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
Oh, that we're road tripping that.
That's a long drive for me. That's a long drive for me. What is it from St. Louis? Like,
I think it's like 8.
is it 8? Okay.
I looked up. Yeah.
I think
Which isn't terrible.
it's about 12 from here if I were to go straight there.
We'll just fly into St. Louis. We'll drive. We'll do the we'll fat guy in a little coat it. I'll be Spade, you be Farley. It'll be great.
I really appreciate that.
Well, you're funnier than me.
Face.
You're funnier than me.
Yeah,
that's the point. It had nothing to do with physicality.
It's 12 and a half hours from me, and I wouldn't actually go through St. Louis. I would go up through like Peoria and the Quad Cities, and then across Iowa and up to
I really just want to see this arena, Pete.
I do too. So this event that we've been roundabout talking about for a minute now is we're going to be playing at the Sanford Pentagon in Sioux Falls on November 4th. That's going to be our first regular season game this fall. And the opponent, Zach, is Santa Clara. So this is one that we had kind of hinted at a week or two ago. And as of, Stu's tweet a few days ago, made it official. But yeah, you're right. I really do want to see this venue. I've already looked at flights, and this game is on a Monday. It's the Monday before Election Day. It's traveling to see a Monday night game is not ideal. I think the weather shouldn't be too bad up there by then, but I don't know. This is a tough one.
The Billiken. Again, we did talk about how this will be the first non-home season opener since 09? Something like that.
Something like that, about 15 years.
The Billikens will host Wofford at home on 11:30. The Terriers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty solid program.
Now this I have circled. I'm going to this next one. Not the home game. Well, I'm going the home game against Wofford, Pete.
Sure, yes.
I think that's without doesn't have to be stated. But there's an MTE in Jacksonville. Well, where is this tournament exactly? I have no idea anymore.
So they haven't announced where it's going to be this year, but last year the Jacksonville tournament was actually played at Flagler College in St. Augustine, Florida, about a half hour south of Jacksonville. But the couple seasons before that, it was held at North Florida in Jacksonville. So I don't know if they're going to be back there or not yet. I don't know if they're going to hold it at Flagler permanently or what, but we do think we're going to get 2 potential power conference opponents in this game. I think, based on rumors, that Cincinnati could be one of them. So the other thing, Zach, is we talked about this a few weeks ago when Schertz first mentioned these. I think it was at the Humphreys event where he talked about South Dakota playing multiple power conference teams. I didn't realize he was talking about 2 different events. So that's pretty cool. We're going to go play Santa Clara on a neutral site up in South Dakota, and then down in Florida is where we're actually going to get a couple power conference teams to play. So that's nice. I mean, the only other thing we know about the non-conference schedule besides what we've just talked about is the game at Illinois State. Everything else is open. So it seems like he has filled what appears to be 4 or 5 dates out of the 12 that he still had to fill. So pretty good work so far.
Is Illinois State where the Majerus SLU crew played in the tournament that year?
The tournament,
Yeah.
the basketball tournament. I don't remember. I don't
Is that
remember.
Peoria? Or is that normal? That's normal.
Yeah. Illinois State is in
They did
normal.
play it. They did play it at
Peoria's
Illinois
Bradley.
State. Yeah, they played at Illinois State. That's a nice
Yeah,
little arena there. I'll
it is
definitely go to
actually.
that one.
It is a nice arena. It's a well constructed sight lines and everything. Like it's a nice place.
Do you find it a little bittersweet that we're playing Cincinnati at a neutral site?
Yes, I think I even joked
Does
like
that
last
bother you?
week on Discord. I was like, I'd really like a home and home with Cincinnati. I'm still pining for a college basketball game with SLU that I can walk to.
We could do a home and home
Again,
with, oh, you can't do that with, no, you said walk to. I was gonna say we get Bellarmine on the schedule. Go play it. Where do they play it? Oh,
Freedom
Freedom
Hall.
Hall.
Yeah. So
That's
that's about an hour and a
crazy.
half away from me. Yeah.
By the way, speaking of Cincinnati, tentative plans way out is to try to attend the Hell is Real rivalry. Shout out Carter Chapley. Come up there and we'll watch Columbus versus Cincinnati, which will be Schulte versus Keller.
That's right.
And hopefully we can get them to sit down with us maybe that weekend.
Fingers crossed.
You know what, Pete? It's Cinco de Mayo today. I got no better transition. Let's talk 2 men in a garden.
No better transition, Zach. Last week I went over all the salsas you need to get to make sure your Cinco de Mayo is good. And by the time you listen to this, it's over. It is the 6th of May. Cinco de Mayo is gone, and you got to move on to other stuff. And I gotta say, I gotta bring people back to this something that they sent to me recently in one of my last orders. And they don't just have salsas, they don't just have pickles and sauces and things like that, but they have this thing called the Fallout, which is a green chili spice blend. And I don't think I followed up on it since I got it, but this stuff is awesome. It's got like a green chili. It kind of reminds me of when I was out in New Mexico, the red sauce, the green sauce. So if you like the green sauce, this one's it's a little bit tangy. It's got a little bit of heat, a little bit of saltiness. I put it on scrambled eggs, Zach, and it was fantastic. And it's a really versatile product that I think you could put on a lot of different things, meats, different sauces, dry rubs, whatever you're doing. I think this is a really nice thing to have in the pantry to throw on there. So head on over to twomeninthegarden.com and look through the partner products. There's some really cool, surprising stuff in here. And you can stock your pantry with a lot of fun stuff. And it's all at twomeninthegarden.com. Go over to their Kitchen Hub products and see what their partners are up to.
Pete, big news on the women's side of things. Tillett tweeted out last week, Billiken incoming twice. And now we know who she was referring to. The front court got a major boost via the transfer portal this week. Maya Glanton, a 6-foot grad transfer forward out of East St. Louis, who spent 4 years at Indiana State with 1 year of eligibility remaining.
Yeah, they're
going to hate us. The blood feud is real at this point.
I think I tweeted to them like it's not personal. Sorry.
We didn't know this was happening.
She was actually their leading scorer last year, just over 11 points a game in 27 minutes a game, and she was over 50% from the field.
Their coach did get canned though, so.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. And so actually their second leading scorer, a name we remember, Kylie Bess, is also back in the portal. So that was, I thought that was kind of interesting too. She started 29 games, appeared in every game. She averaged about a block a game in the conference schedule. Tillett said she's tough to prepare for. Her energy, enthusiasm, and skill set will all transfer in the A10. She added that playing in front of friends and family was a draw and said Glanton really wants to grow the fan base. So seems like a good cultural fit in addition to all the attributes she brings, being a 6-foot player. Zach, at East St. Louis, she averaged close to 12 points a game and 4 rebounds. She was an all-area selection by the Belleville News Democrat. Played AAU for the Eagles, along with current Sycamore signee Caitlin Anderson. So she's a good prep player coming back home for her last season. And we talked about needing a little more scoring, a little more size, and she certainly brings both of those things.
I wonder if we'll see any movement with Caitlin Anderson.
It's a good question. It's a good question. Yeah, given the coaching change.
This next one I am going to try to pronounce. This next signee. I can get the first name down right, but we're gonna really work hard on this last name. Marilena Triantafili.
Yeah, I think you got it. You've got all the beats there. Maybe a couple vowels might be tweaked in the end, but we'll figure that out when she comes around.
6'5" center from Syracuse, originally from Athens, Greece, 3 years of eligibility remaining, and as broken on Twitter by yours truly.
Yeah, Zach deserves a lot of credit for this one. Zach, there is now a Twitter personality that's kind of the Trilly Donovan.
Skim Milky.
Skim Milky. Skim Milky, which is such a funny name.
By the way, did you see the picture of Kim Mulkey?
Yes. Yeah. Not all made up.
Yeah. Oh,
I mean, yeah, I can't believe
I'm shocked that she posed for that.
She's normally like very conscious of her
like that's
public image.
Wild.
Hey, anyway, caught me off guard. It just didn't seem like she would have been willing to do that.
It didn't seem like Kim Mulkey.
That's right. It didn't. I'm all for, hey, don't shame anybody. How you look is how you look. But yeah, didn't expect it. Anyway, 3 years of eligibility remaining. Like you said, she only appeared in 6 games as a freshman at Syracuse. She played for, I guess it's all capital letters, EFAOZ in the ESVA league in Greece. She averaged 21 minutes a game, 7 points, 12 rebounds, 4.5 blocks, 2 assists, and a steal. TennIT says she brings size and rebounding, which she certainly does. 6'5", the tallest player since Brooke Flowers. She's a forward-thinking player whose commitment to watching game film, preparation, and spending time in the gym to work on her game was evident during her visit. So again, a really I think a good personality fit for a TennIT team. And again, Zach deserves a lot of credit for being all over this one on Twitter, sleuthing when he heard that we have a 6'5" power conference transfer, narrowed it down and got this one to leak. So a lot of credit to Zach. But one thing that I want to get to is we've said repeatedly that to make the next step, this program has to upgrade the talent level. And she brings some much needed size to the 5. I think Glanton brings some consistent scoring to the front court. And this takes a lot of pressure off of Simon and Shavers, right? Who are certainly players you have in your rotation, but they were kind of called on to replace Brooke Flowers, and it just wasn't the most natural transition. So now we have genuine depth in the front court along with size, and it just feels new for this program, right? To have that much size and depth between those 4. I think that's fantastic. And they still need another ball handler. They still need perimeter scoring. I'm going to be interested to see which of these incoming freshmen are ready to go. I've heard really good things about a couple of them. So it's an intriguing roster going forward, and I know she's not done yet. So exciting direction, and hopefully both of these players are ready to go.
As far as outgoing Billiken transfers, Mina Castro is heading to Western Illinois, and Ashley Connor has not yet announced her plans. Pete, let's talk about 2 new offers on the high school end of recruiting. Jakara Brown, a 5'10" combo guard from the class of 2025 out of Legacy Early College High School, played with the Upward Stars, South Carolina, in the Adidas three stripes brand.
Yep.
Pete, you kind of compared her to Brooklyn Gray.
Yeah, she's a little like Brooklyn Gray in that she's a guard with good size and scoring ability, but she's a lot more fluid than Gray, I think. Gray has more of kind of an old school game, what I would say, right? But I think she really moves well. She's maybe a little bit more natural athlete, I think. She does have other offers from Tulsa, Appalachian State, Presbyterian, North Carolina A&T. She's visited Wake Forest, East Tennessee State, Mercer, and some others. So her recruitment is picking up, and she's 2025, so she's just entering her senior year. But she's a really interesting looking player.
Kennedy Stamper, great name, by the way.
Yeah.
Point guard out of the class of 27, George Rogers Clark High School. Who's George Rogers Clark?
Should I know this? Are you
No,
quizzing
I have
me,
no
or are you
idea. I
asking
know,
me?
I have no idea. I was curious if you knew. Out of Kentucky. Did you know Travis Ford was from Kentucky?
I believe it or not, I did.
United Family AAU. Is that that sounds like it's sponsored by an insurance company, right?
It really does.
United Family AAU.
Oh, yeah. So she's, as you said, class of 27. I think this might be the youngest offer we have. I know Tillett has offered other freshmen, but I don't know if was, 2026 last year or something like that. But anyway, she's a really complete point guard for being young, but she's really talented. I think Bellarmine is her only other offer so far, but she has also visited Dayton. So she's definitely, we're way out ahead of the curve on her recruitment. But I guess Tillett, somebody went to an Adidas Three Stripes AAU event, and these two really stood out. Um, and you've made me go look up George Rogers Clark.
I feel like he's
Uh,
a tight end in the NFL.
It does sound like that, but he was an American military officer and surveyor from Virginia who became the highest ranking Patriot military officer on the Northwestern frontier during the Revolutionary War.
Okay.
And he died in Louisville, Kentucky.
Ah,
So I guess,
cool.
I guess,
Well,
yeah,
that's your history lesson for the day, folks.
right. We gave more information on him than the recruit who went to the high school
Absolutely.
named after him.
Well, to be fair, he did a lot more in
He
his
did a lot.
life.
His Wikipedia page is much
Yeah,
longer than that.
yeah. Pete, you know what we need to head over to do? We need to head over to the baseball diamond. Actually, both diamonds, because it was a wild weekend, as I mentioned in the outset. But to start, let's talk about the game on Tuesday, the 30th.
Yeah, so this was a good one for SLU, a 12-2 win at Butler. It was the last game in an 8-game road stretch for the Bills. Lots of notes for this game. It was Darren Hendrickson's 999th overall win, and we're glad that number came on the road to give him a chance to get the next one at home. It was SLU's 30th win of the season. Hayden Moore returned to the lineup after missing 16 games and had 2 hits. Big welcome back to him. Tommy Ray returned to the pitching staff to pitch the first inning after missing a month. But unfortunately, Patrick Closey and his 399 average were still out due to injury. So in this game, Cole Smith got the first 3 RBIs with a 2-run single in the third and another RBI single in the fifth. That was followed by a wild pitch that sent Ben Gallagher home and a 3-run homer from Drew Winters to give SLU a 7-0 lead. Brendan Stressler hit his own 3-run shot in the eighth. Smith hit another single, and Easton Richter tripled to send him home. Hayden Moore's RBI single made it 12 runs for SLU. Owen Chaffin got the win. He struck out 2, allowed 1 run and 3 1/3. And then Jackson Yarberry and Jack Weber combined to finish the last 4 2/3 innings. But Zach, heading into the weekend, it was a big series against George Mason.
Yeah, you mentioned that Patrick Closey injury. Funny story. One of the people at the game, I guess was a parent, whatever. I got to talking to him, and they said Hendo had the assistant coaches go out and buy a bunch of protection for the hands for when they're at bat. And he's like,
Yeah.
"No, we had 2 broken bones. We're done with this.
Yes.
We're taking no chances." Yeah, you're talking the George Mason series. By the way, I think we both agree. Eat shit, George Mason, especially George Mason baseball.
Yeah.
This
Yeah, no.
dude, seriously, I literally cannot describe to you how insane George Mason baseball is. Just like remember when like the podcast first, I think it was you and I.
Hmm.
where the George Mason uh journalist or whatever, the writer, accused SLU of cheating.
Yes.
Yeah. And then what the Georgia pitcher accused of cheating this past week
Hmm.
was a George Mason pitcher last season.
Yeah.
I just there, and not to mention the shit they pull in the dugout. Like they are very vocal and very like low rent, like
They
cheers. They heckle a lot.
they are the baseball equivalent of like George Mason's basketball fan base. So to me,
Yes.
like this, there's a very consistent character at that institution, and it's just really annoying people. So
Yeah.
anyway, glad
Uh
this series went the way it did.
yes, it did. And the key to this series for the Billikens was going to be getting to the Mason bullpen. Mason returned most, if not all, of their starters from a year ago. Like I mentioned, that Georgia pitcher was accused of cheating, was a Patriot.
Hmm.
But they opened up the series with Darren Hendrickson's career 1,000 win. Congrats, Darren, Pete.
Yeah, awesome stuff.
No,
Yeah,
he's it's impressive how much he's done at this university with really like bare bones facilities.
yeah, and I think about half of these wins have come at SLU.
Yo, that's right. That's right.
If I'm not
500.
mistaken,
Didn't
yeah,
he just win his 500th at
he won
SLU?
500 about a month ago.
That's
But
so
like
funny.
it's pretty amazing, right? The number 1,000, by the way, wins is like it's hard to comprehend. Like how
Yes.
is he's not like 100 years old.
No.
That's what makes this so amazing to me. It's like, dude, you're not that old. How do you have 1,000 wins? He's just like he knows how to just create a winning program everywhere he goes. And I know you and I are both really grateful to have him leading this program.
Yeah.
And they've been, by the way, playing really well lately despite all the injuries. So anyway, get back to the
No,
series.
yeah. It was a 4-3 win against George Mason Friday the 3rd. It was a close one. The Billikens came from behind twice to tie it and took the lead for good in the bottom of the 7th. Jackson Holmes started, went 5 innings. Both runs were unearned because of because Mason's 2 runs in the second inning were due to a throwing error. Was that the one? No, that wasn't it. Jack Weber pitched 2 innings of relief and got the win. Ethan Bell threw the last 2 innings for the save. Mason gave up a run on a throwing error in the 3rd. Drew Winters and Easton Richter had RBI singles. Hayden Moore had an RBI double. Knox Preston scored twice. By the way, Knox Preston, I don't want to call out. I don't want to call out a dude, but he's a short king. He is way shorter than I expected. Because I haven't been to the ballpark this year until Saturday. Which, by the way, I showed up, and of course, the Billikens win 5-2 to make my Saturday really nice. The Billikens got out to a 2-0 early deficit. Again, when George Mason hit a 2-run homer in the top of the 1st, but it was all SLU after that. They didn't tie it up to the 4th with a Drew Winter solo shot and a Tyler Fogarty single. They literally could not chase this number 21 who started for Mason. They were going to ride him to the end of the game. The floodgates opened though with the Billikens scoring 2 more on a throwing error after a bunt from Ethan Sitzman in the 8th. And that's when I believe they went to the bullpen and
Mhm.
you were just like, this is over.
Yeah.
The Mason come back. Winters had an RBI single to send Sitzman home. Weber pitched the first 5 innings. Cunningham came in for the next 2 and a third. And it was Evan Gray who got the win after a perfect final 1 2/3. That last inning, Charlie Weber pitched, got a little hairy and allowed out for his final out of his outing here. Yeah, it was a great game. It was a lot of fun. It was beautiful weather, a little warm. Yeah, not much more you can say about this one.
Yeah. And they continued it on Sunday the 5th with a 5-4 win in 10 innings to round out the sweep. They were tied 3-3 after 9 innings. George Mason then scored on a wild pitch in the top of the 10th. And then in the bottom of the inning, SLU tied it on an RBI double from Hayden Moore and won it after a throwing error. sent Ethan Sitzman home. Dawson Smith pitched the first 4 innings, and Owen Kelly pitched the next 3, with each of them giving up 1 earned run. Jackson Yarbury pitched into the 10th and gave up that final Mason run, but Ethan Bell got slew out of the inning and ended up with the win to ice the sweep. Zach, by the way, I got to push back a little bit. Knox Preston is listed at 5'10".
Allegedly.
Allegedly. Maybe that's in cleats, because I'm also listed at 5'10", and I'm every bit of 5'10". So
I'm
just putting that out there.
if I'm on an inversion table for 10 minutes, I'm 5'11".
That's cheating. It doesn't count.
It's not cheating. All right. I wanted to look at their pitching for
Well, while you do that, I
Yeah.
will I'll set the table. SLU is now 33-11 on the season for a 750 win percentage, which great job, by the way. That's fantastic. 13-5 in the A10. They're in first place by a half game over Dayton. They've won 5 in a row. So they're in really good shape now, and hopefully getting some more reinforcements back from injury shortly. The next game they've got is Tuesday the 7th against Lindenwood, and then they host Dayton for a 3-game weekend series on May 10th to 12th that will probably determine first place. The good news for the Bills, Zach, is that they will likely have Patrick Closey returning next week. So fingers crossed he can be back for Dayton, but if not, shortly after that.
Yeah, like I said at the start of this series, it was all about getting to the bullpen. Mason really rides their starting pitching. In that rubber game, Ryan Peterson went 9 innings. He went the full 9. Britt Yount took the loss. He pitched 2/3 of the inning. And then Luke Goodyear, I guess, I don't know what the hell he did. He faced one batter. I don't know. By the way, they have a player named Yount and Dykstra.
They're just trying to create an 80s, 90s MLB team here.
Yeah. Well, you definitely don't want a Dykstra. Like Lenny Dykstra's nuts. Full on.
Yes. Yeah, that's true.
Softball, Pete. The Billikens needed a sweep to take the 1 seed away from first place Dayton. It did not happen, and it all really happened all at once.
Yeah, it kind of did, Zach. So they had the doubleheader on Saturday, or at least scheduled for Saturday. The 9-2 was the loss on the game 1 on Saturday. Natalie Sullivan scored both runs. Jane Kineski went 2 of 3, but SLU just couldn't get anything going at the plate. 4 hits total in the game. Taylor Hockman had a tough outing. She gave up 6 runs, 4 earned in 3 innings. Lily Strand pitched the last 4 innings and gave up the last 3 runs. And then Zach, game 2 on Saturday was suspended in the top of the 6th, tied 0-0 with the remainder played on Sunday, and it stayed scoreless all the way until the 10th inning when Jane Kineski sent Carson Janney home with an RBI single to center field. Isabel Royal pitched all 10 innings, speaking of riding your starting pitching, by the way. A little different in softball, though, and struck out 8. So that set up a rubber match on Sunday the 5th, Zach.
Yeah, that, by the way, wild ass second game of the series to go like 4 innings into extras after finishing it up from Friday.
Yeah, crazy. Normally those things just kind of blow open, right? When you've got to start the thing over, it's just you lose all that momentum, and it's weird.
Did we lose that game today? Did I miss that? Oh, I thought we took 2 or 3. Shit.
No, we lost 2 of 3.
Oh man. Damn, I misread that. Okay. Well, I'm decidedly sadder now. 4-2 loss in 10 innings against Dayton on Sunday the 5th. Newbanks hit an RBI single in the bottom of the 7th to tie it at 1 and send it to extras. Dayton scored 3 in the top of the 10th, and SLU could only get 1 back in the bottom. An Abby Mallow solo shot. Taylor Hockman pitched all 10 innings, striking out 6. The Billikens only had 3 hits in the game and 11 hits in the entire series. They kind of got waxed.
Yeah, unfortunately they did. They just really struggled at the plate this weekend.
Run us down the final standings and the A10 tournament info.
So they finished the regular season with a record of 30-20, pretty respectable. 16-10 in the A10. Like we said, they had a chance to take first place, but they needed to sweep Dayton. So instead, they ended up tied in second with Loyola. And in the A10 tournament that will be held May 8th to 11th this week at Fordham, SLU will be the 2 seed based on having that tiebreaker over Loyola. And they will face the winner of 3 seed Loyola and 6 seed St. Joe's on Thursday at 1:30 St. Louis time. Only the top 6 teams actually make the tournament, and it's a double elimination format. So SLU will actually play again on Thursday later in the day or on Friday, depending on the outcome of their first game. So they're in a good spot as the 2 seed. They get to sit out the first round. But it's gonna be a fun. I love these baseball and softball double elimination tournaments. It's just a lot of games in a short amount of time.
Yeah, it's going to be fun, and they'll be all on ESPN Plus. So I'm excited. I'm always excited. I think I've said this before, but softball, for my money, is a better television product. College softball is a better television product than college baseball, especially in this format where there's so many games on in a day. I just think it's
once conference tournaments start in softball, it's a blast.
Yeah. It's entertaining. It's fast.
Yep. And if you go to like I don't know, any random bar with the sports bar with a bunch of screens, it's playing all day in a period where there's not a whole lot of other sports going on, and you find yourself just watching these games, and it's just a really watchable, fun sport.
Track and field. They competed at the A10 Outdoor Championships this weekend at, I don't say this school's name anymore.
Yeah, George Mason University in Fairfax, Virginia.
Thank you.
I guess they got to hold it somewhere, and it was their turn, right?
Yeah, 3 A10 golds, Pete, the most ever won by the Billikens at the A10 Outdoor Championships. And hold on, and I don't want to be like, our girl Emily Nichols. I don't want to come down hard here, but like, you win 3 golds and she didn't even podium, or maybe she did. Did she? She did podium. Sorry, she podiumed. I'm sorry.
Yeah, she got a bronze.
Yeah, well, you get 3 golds and Emily Nichols isn't one of them. I'm shocked. Like, I think we've come further. I think that just means we've come further as a program.
I think we have, actually, because she and McDowell were really pushing each other all year long in that 400. And it's McDowell who wound up on top. She was one of those golds, the first women's runner in 10 years to win a gold medal on the track, broke the school record in the 400 meters. By the way, the school record that she set last month for a first place finish in the 400, 53:57. Great time. Another school record for a gold medal, Journey Amundsen broke the school record to win the triple jump, 41 feet, 10.5 inches for a new personal best. And then the other gold, Zach, was Harrison Martinenko, who won the mile with the no, 1,500 meters.
Yeah, it's about 100 yards short.
Yeah, I was gonna say, okay, that's not the mile. With a time of 3:47.69 to win the overall event. So really nice job to get 3 first place finishes.
Throwing the hammer was Samantha Kunza, winning the silver.
Yeah, with 2:04.1 was her throw, and then as we said, Emily Nichols earned a spot on the podium in the 400 with a 3rd place time of 54:26. So you always love it when you've got 1st and 3rd on the podium. It's a good look to have 2 SLU jerseys up there. Erin Tobin was the runner-up in the 400-meter hurdles, earning the silver with a time of 53:15. Jaden Kawaito brought home the bronze in the triple jump with the mark of 49 feet and 1.5 inches. Zach, we also got it done with some relays.
Yeah. The men's 4x400, comprised of Carson Amstutz, Danny Hopkins, Tobin, and Aiden Martin, earned bronze after registering a school record of 3:13 flat. George Blanco entered the Billiken record book, breaking the school mark in the 3,000 steeplechase. By the way, steeplechase is an interesting one. Shout out my boy Scotty Vicker. 9:16.76 for George Blanco. McKenna Paulson just missed the podium in the 10K. finishing in a PR of 35-50-29. In the team competition, the men placed 6th overall. The women finished 7th. We've never really been a team
No,
threat.
no, never done great on the team side, but this feels like progress to me. I mean, more medals than you've ever had, finishing right in the middle of the pack overall. I mean, this is a solid, step in the right direction for what is still a pretty young program.
By the way, Harrison Martinenko, in his gold medal run, finished with the belt celebration. He had enough time to flex on them hoes.
He's a guy who's got a little bit of flair,
Well,
which I appreciate.
he's an Aussie.
Yeah, no, I know.
Yeah,
He's the one who brought
yeah,
oh my God, Toby, that
yeah.
guy Toby Gillen
With
over.
Toby, it's
So
like if you love something, let it go.
yeah, I mean,
And
we had
maybe
to
he'll
with
come
Toby.
back.
Yes.
No, speaking of SEC, the NCAA West Regional preliminary rounds are held 22nd to 25th in Fayetteville, Arkansas. By the way, I love the University of Arkansas campus. I think it's sweet.
I've never been there.
Their sports facilities are off the charts.
Yeah, I mean, there's like the alumni money there, as we're finding out in NIL and with the
Tyson
Calipari
Chicken,
coach, Tyson Chicken,
the
Jerry
microwave
Jones.
chicken industry.
Yeah, I mean, they've got silly money that is willing to fund that program. So I'm not, and it's in Walmart country too, right?
Yes.
So I'm not surprised at all that they've really got world class facilities, and
Might
I
have
got
to
to get
make
down
a
and check it
trip.
out.
I know I
Yeah.
might have to go see a Razorbacks football game this year. Men's tennis. This was odd. We didn't see this coming at all. Okay, and we didn't get to preview it because, well, it came out like Monday.
Yeah.
SLU was one of 8 invitees to the UTR National Invitational Tennis Championship, or as I'm calling it, the TennIT.
Mhm.
On May 5th through the 8th at IMG Academy in Florida. We did not know it existed. And it started on Sunday. And the amazing part is we could stream it, but I never figured it out.
Yeah, apparently it was available to stream on Amazon Prime, and
Which is wild.
the rest of, well, with a membership, I should say.
Well, that's I mean, but the point is like, I didn't even know this event existed.
Mhm.
I'm shocked that it's streaming on a reasonable service. Like this has Flow Tennis written all over it.
Oh, completely. Yeah, this was going to be one. Yeah, you're right. This was Flow Sports all the way.
Oh, did I tell you I watched a video on Flow Sports?
A video about Flow
Well,
Sports?
actually, it was about Flow Track.
No,
because Flow Sports started out as Flow Track. Like that's how the genesis of it, because nobody was. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Because
that actually makes more sense. Like, for their model, like, oh, we're just a specialty, provider for one thing, and like the people who really care are going to pay that. But when you spread it out to other sports, people are like, what are you doing? What is this?
And apparently the streams are just horrendous for track. They've always been so bad. Like a guy went through like 50 of them and watched them all and graded them on presentation, how much they cost, and all that shit. It was crazy.
They really just set up a camera and
on some of them, yes.
Yeah.
Like he's like, don't even get me started on throwing events. Can't get you ain't getting those. Yeah. But anyway, 8th seed SLU played the number 1 seed Tulsa on the 5th, and they got worked. It was a 4-0 loss for the Bills. Tulsa won the doubles point and then won 1, 4, and 5 singles for the sweep. The other singles matches going unfinished. Tulsa was the number 1 seed in the TennIT. By the way, we're going with 2 N's in TennIT. So
that makes more sense.
I don't know why I care so much. So the result isn't a huge surprise, obviously. This was the first postseason appearance in program history. They finished 15-5 on the season. Pete, I'm trying to think. It's so wild. Like I can't even think of another sport that has kind of, like, I guess women's basketball with their WNIT, but like this feels so different.
Yeah.
Because it's not like a traditional team sport.
Right.
Feels like we've definitely never been here before.
No, yeah, I was caught completely off guard.
I'm gonna have to look into the TennIT and get back to you people on what all that entails. But
Yeah.
it's the rest of it's on Prime if you're really a tennis junkie. I thought it was weird. I actually preferred, to be honest with you, I preferred the USTA feeds from
Mm.
the conference tournament. I thought that was really easy to navigate once I figured it out. But that only took me like 10-15 minutes. But yeah, they finished 15-5 on the season. The semifinals are Tuesday, and the finals are on Wednesday. Again, all matches on Amazon Prime. Pete, do we want to run through this story real quick?
I think we save it.
Okay, yeah, because it's a great
For
story.
yeah, we'll
I
have I
wish
think
we could
probably
get
more
him
time.
on the podcast.
Yeah, that's
That would be awesome.
interesting, but yeah,
Um,
we'll save it.
yes. Okay. That's it for the week. It was a great week. It was a fun week. I mean, maybe save for some softball and tennis, but
Yeah,
everything's coming up Billikens.
we're in a good spot overall. We're in a good spot. And yeah, when men's basketball's doing well, women's basketball had some good news this week. You know, soccer teams are going to be good again. So yeah, we're in good shape, Zach. Spring sports are going well.
By the way, shout out John Margaluski in the ticket office. Um I sent in my deposit, or I did my deposit, and I realized in my haste and excitement to re-up my tickets that I didn't know if I connected it to my actual account. So I
Mm.
gave him a call. He called me back and helped me. He's like, "Yeah, we got it. No worries." So yeah, shout out him. Anyway, that's gonna do it, Pete. As always, go Bills.
Go Bills.